What's up, Melanated family? This is your boy Harrison Man from MelanatedFathers.com and Melanated Fathers TV, which is my YouTube page. I want to welcome everybody to a brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. Now, if this is your first time here, the Melanated Convo podcast is a show where we speak with interesting individuals from around the country who all share one thing in common. They are severely passionate about what they do. They speak truth to power. They're following their dreams, whatever that may be. So I speak to writers, entertainers, teachers, carpenters, whoever you are. As long as you're driven by passion and you have our communities, if you put our community first, basically, that's what I look for in people that I want to interview. Sometimes on the show, we have no interview. And, I just talk about a specific topic that we deal with in our community, a specific topic that we deal with as parents. But for the most part, I like to bring interesting people on the show so I can kind of, bring my listeners into their world. In this episode, I have a really, really special interview with a young brother who is an author. He's an entrepreneur, so we're going to get into a lot of the things that he does here in a minute. Also on the Melanated Convo podcast, I like to speak about Black businesses, Black organizations, whoever I can find that's, putting their best foot forward to do the right thing for our community. I think economics is extremely important to Black society as we move forward. If any of us or any of you guys do the numbers, where we stand economically compared to other races of people is pretty low. So I like to do my due diligence and find Black businesses who are qualified. And like I always say, it's not just about supporting a Black business, because you want the quality to be there too, right? So it's not just about supporting your buddy who got a business. We want to do good business. We want to find ourselves creating generational wealth. And the only way to do that is make our businesses comparable to all businesses around, not just Black businesses, but all businesses around, right? So for the first business today, and like I said last week, I am going to do each business I promote, I'm going to do it 2 weeks in a row. Just like I said, I want to give the business owners the maximum amount of exposure that my platform will allow. So for the first business, this is a brother I spoke about last week, and a brother that I know personally. He has a clothing line called krcollections.com. You can find the clothes there. It's called King's Ransom is the name of his clothing line. I think, and this is a brother named King Miller. I really like his clothing line because it has the Heru Falcon, the Horus Falcon, as his logo. He deals a lot with Egyptian gods and things of that nature. So his shirts will have different logos on them with Egyptian gods, different slogans. He has a lot of different joggers. He has a really nice short sleeve hoodie that I'm about to buy. And the thing about his clothing line, again, it's krcollection.com. King's Ransom is the name of the clothing line. The thing about it is I've been able to purchase some of his clothes, and it's really, really high quality clothing, family. So we know in our community, we like the name brands. We like all the designer things, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with anybody getting a Gucci bag, or that's not how I roll personally. But if that's what you're into, that's fine. Just make sure you're giving local designers or designers that have clothing that you think is hot, make sure you give them a chance too. Just because it's not name brand, or just because it isn't a bigger brand than what it is, doesn't mean it's not dope. We got to understand that when it comes to culture and when it comes to trend setting, we set the trend. So whatever we wear is what this world considers to be dope. So take a look at my boy's website. It's krcollection.com. He just dropped his fall collection, which, like I said, he has hoodies, t-shirts. He has a nice joggers with the Heru Falcon on it. Real fly historical gear. I always like to see brothers tapping into our history because, I think a lot of us don't take time to do that enough. So please go support my boy with King's Ransom Clothing. The website is krcollection.com. We know the holidays is about to come. So do yourself a favor, go to the website, buy yourself a shirt or something for somebody in your family. Now, for the second business, this is more of an organization, brother. This is my boy Sylvester, who, when I was doing my interviews where I was just interviewing fathers, I had the pleasure of interviewing this brother about fatherhood. And when we first interviewed, his organization, Black Father Nation, was just an idea. Since then, he's launched the organization. He's had several events. So I just want to give my brother some love. He has an organization called BlackFatherNation.com. Now, he's in Minnesota, and like I always say, the businesses I promote will be some local to where I'm at in Sacramento. It'll be some that's around the country. The point is, I want to point out what these brothers and sisters is doing. And if you come across a business that I talk about that you do not have in your city, that you do not have one close to you, that may be all the motivation you need to start something like that yourself. Now, my brother Sylvester, he runs Black Father Nation out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, I think. His organization helps Black fathers and fathers in general, so he helps everybody. He helps them with job leads. He helps with parenting advice, legal resources. He has different events. He had a really cool event a couple weeks ago where him and the beautician primarily, was teaching fathers how to do their daughter's hair, because we know in our community sometimes if you're in a position where you're a single father or you're a man and you have your little girl all the time, how will we know how to do hair, right? So having an event where you show fathers how to do hair, I think was fantastic. He does different things like go to different parks in his community and just clean up the park. And for me, family, that's the most important thing. As a community, as Black society, we need to find ways to support each other. We need to find ways to help out. So maybe you don't have the wherewithal to start an organization or do something like that, but you can still go to the park and pick up garbage. You can still go volunteer somewhere. You can still be a coach for kids in your neighborhood. I think as Black men, we get a bad rap in society, and we know how racism, white supremacy works. Everybody's aware of that, but we can take the onus in our own hands and do things. I see a lot of people on social media, and that's a part of it, right? Like speaking out against injustice, speaking out about what you don't like in this world. I get it, but we all need to go from maybe being active online to being active in real life. So find something in your community you can do to help out. That's a big reason why I talk about the businesses and the organizations, because I think all of us need to figure out a way to help out. If we had all hands on deck, we'd be out of some of this shit a long time ago. You feel me? So go to BlackFatherNation.com. Tap in with my boy Sylvester. If you're in the area, tap in with him to see what he got going on. If not, go to his Instagram page, follow him, tell him you've been watching him, give him some words of encouragement. You feel me? Sometimes when we're in positions where we're starting businesses and we're new to it, and we don't come from generational wealth, so we don't know how some of the organizational factors work. Once we get into that mode and we start doing it, sometimes the best thing you can do for somebody is just tell them keep going. Just tell them, hey, bro, I see what you're doing. You feel me? So if you're not in the Minnesota area, please still follow my boy Sylvester. It's at Black Father Nation on Instagram. The website is blackfathernation.com. Now, on to the interview for the day. So like I always say, I like to interview people who are passionate, who are motivated about what they do, who's doing something that I find interesting. And I try my best to present that to my audience. I was online, like I always do, looking for different people to interview, looking for stories to put on the site. And I ran across this brother. Every time I run across a brother who kind of speaks my language as far as empowering Black people, as far as putting Black people in the best light possible based on how society treats us, that's really intriguing to me. So when I seen that this brother was writing a book and what the book was about, I just had to get on board. I had to figure out a way to connect with him because like I said, man, it's important that we support each other and do whatever we can to get behind each other, right? But the brother is an author. He's writing his first book. He has a great podcast with his father. I want to welcome Malcolm Bozier to the podcast. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good. Thank you again for, having me on this great platform. I really appreciate, because even when you reached out to me, I did some research on you as well, and I was like, whoa, this is exactly, along the same vein of what I do. So I really appreciate it. And just hearing you speak just now, and you, shouting out local businesses in your area and businesses that are not in your area, but just, supporting Black businesses, that was beautiful. So thank you again for having me.
Definitely, definitely. So we want to get into your story and talk about your book and everything. But before we get to that, just tell my audience briefly who you are.
So my name is Malcolm X Bowser. I am from the Bronx. I'm 26 years old. I'm an author. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a student. I got my degree in history from SUNY Westbury. That's in Long Island, New York. In 2015, I have just a lifelong love of learning and books. But I'm from the Bronx, so there's a lot that my parents, as hard as they tried, they couldn't really shield me from. So I had to learn to navigate, both of those worlds, because I did have to go to school and I did have to come home, even if I was in school trying to do my thing. I was an athlete. I played football, for the longest until like my freshman year in college, until I messed up my shoulder. And then after that, it was straight books after that. And then for the longest time when I was in college, I wanted a career in museum curation. I wanted to be able to, control, what images were seen about us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was my goal when I got to college. My father, he was just like, nah, I think you should, look for something in media. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, nah, I ignored him, completely ignored him. And then my senior year, I stumbled. I was able to complete an internship at a local newspaper publication, and I've always been a strong writer, so that wasn't a big thing. But then she let me, my supervisor let me be the editor for the entire paper one week, and I was able to control everything that went into the paper, like where the ads went, who wrote what stories were worth covering, and I love that control to be able to tell important stories in our community. Like I was able to, there was a Broadway, or off-Broadway play going on in Park in Harlem, and all Black cast, and they were jazzing up, Shakespeare plays, and I was like, yeah, that should be a story, you know what I'm saying? So I was able to get somebody to cover it and things like that. So ever since then, I got the bug. I was like, I want to do something in media. And around that time, I don't know, like, the way the universe works. Around that time, my father, he was putting out his second book. He put out his first book in 2005, and his second book he put out in 2015. And I was just like, yo, listen, I don't know what you need me to do, but I want to help out with this entire process. And he was like, I've been telling you this for years, and you finally listened. So from then I started the blog. I started my blog, which is called Urban X. And the X stands for, it stands for anything, but we shortened the word experience. And we didn't, searching for names, we search for names for podcasts and websites. We're thinking like, all right, the Urban Experience, that's kind of long to type in. And then that led into a deeper conversation of how like my experience is different from your experience. My experience is different from my brother's experience, and he lived in the same house as me. My sister's experience, yeah. And so then we was like, okay, so the urban unknown, and it was that's kind of corny now, but X, you know what I'm saying? If people with Malcolm X, who was Malcolm Little before, and how the X represents the unknown, because he said he doesn't, nobody knows his actual last name, so we say, okay, Urban X, you know what I'm saying? Just with the letter X, and the X sound is prevalent in the word experience anyway, so we kind of kill two birds with one stone. And my middle name is Xavier, from Malcolm X. So it just all kind of fit, you know what I mean? And within the blog, I wrote stories, again, local stories about people who are doing great things in our community. I wrote things that were just on my mind about current events and things like that. And then that birthed the YouTube channel with me and my father, who is known as the Black Dot, and that birthed the podcast. So, it turned into a whole media company that we're doing as a family. My stepmother, she edits some videos, she does graphic design. We do another podcast with my little brother who's disabled. So it's a family business,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm an entrepreneur. I'm learning along the way. I'm learning a lot as I go. But yeah, and I just recently uh, completed my first book, which is called Urban Excellence: Unveiling Extraordinary Stories by Everyday People.
Okay.
And it's basically a culmination of everything, you know what I'm saying, of
Mm-hmm.
the podcast, the YouTube channel, the blog, everything. So we can get into that but yeah, so that's who I am.
Definitely, definitely. Now, so I noticed that you had the podcast with your father, and I watched a couple episodes. Um, Really good information. You know, you guys go in on current events. Both of you have, I would say, very insightful. Your father is your father is very entertaining too, but very insightful perspectives. You know what I'm saying? But what I wanted to
Right,
ask was, in our community, like in my neighborhood, Malcolm, maybe one or two of the kids had a father in the home, or a father that they like spent time with and was around. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
understanding that in our community, for whatever reason, a lot of us just weren't raised with a father. I want you to talk to me about, like, in your formative years and probably observing your environment where maybe some of your friends didn't have fathers. How important was your father's influence, his, how available he was to you? How important was all that when you were growing up?
So, um, so first off, my parents have been separated since I was like 2.
Hmm.
I maybe have 1 or 2 memories of them actually being in the same home together. But I say that to say that my father did an amazing job in staying in my life literally every step of the way.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I grew up in the Bronx, and when he moved, he just moved to 10 minutes away in the Bronx as well. And every weekend, like clockwork, he would pick me up. He would pick up my older brother, and there was no, at least in my eyes, there was no gap in between how I was raised. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And like you said, a lot of my friends did not have their fathers around, even if their parents were separated. A lot of my friends' parents were separated from their fathers from each other, and their father wouldn't see them as consistently as my father would.
Hmm.
And you feel the difference. You know what I'm saying, when you're going through a lot of the trials, just the normal trials that you go through when you live in you know, when you live in the hood, you know what I mean? My father, and I can admit this, when I was younger, probably before I turned, like, I want to say, 10, maybe 11, I was a mama's boy. I stayed under my mother. And then once, you start to get a little older, you start to, have certain questions about yourself. Those are like real pivotal years when you want to lean on your father. And my father was there, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And my father did an amazing job with my siblings and that, because there's 4 of us, but we all have 4 different relationships with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, my passions, I was big into, like I said, I was big into football. I was big into a lot of these different things, and he was 100% present for all of those things. And then my older brother, basketball was his thing. You know what I'm saying? So he was 100% present in basketball. For my little sister, dance was her thing, and then he made sure he knew all the terminologies and when it came to these ballet. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's super important that when fathers are heavily involved in their kids' lives, and I think I'm a real testament to that. He let me grow. He let me make my mistakes. He let me experience as well. I remember when I turned 18, I said, I want to go to a strip club. He was like, all right, go ahead. So I went. I didn't really enjoy myself. I was like, it's not really my scene. He was like, yeah, I didn't think it would be, but you needed to see that for yourself. I couldn't tell you not to go.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely, definitely.
So
And it's important you mention that, because sometimes, it's one thing to have a mother and the father in the home and the kid there. Of course, that's the ideal way that we all want to raise our kids, right? But I think it's important that when the relationship with the woman does not work out for whatever reason, it's really important that you find a way to create like a consistent present in your kid's life. And I think that's really important what your pops did for you, bro, because I know a lot of situations where it was a guy I may know, and he's in a relationship with a woman, and they're living together, and everything's good. Then they have a baby, and they're in the house together, and everything's good. And for whatever reason, the relationship don't work out with the woman, and somehow, whether willingly or unwillingly, he allows the relationship with the kid to falter because he's not with the woman anymore. And I tell all my friends, because I have 5 kids, bro. I have 4 kids before I was 24 years old. One of the biggest things I had to realize quickly is, okay, I'm not in a relationship with these women anymore. How do I create a consistent presence in my kids' life? Because they're not gonna all the things I'm going through personally, kids don't really care about that. You need to find a way. And money is important, but presence and being there to talk to, being there when they just need a shoulder, that's really, really imperative. And I think your dad killed that, because a lot of dudes sometimes feel like, okay, I'm not in this relationship with a woman, I'm gonna just move on and create a whole new life somewhere else. You're not realizing that, you're kind of putting a real dent in your kid's childhood. So I take my hat off to your pops for doing that for you.
He's dope. He's dope.
Definitely. Now, so the book, which I think has a very interesting concept. So, Urban Excellence, Unveiling Extraordinary Stories by Everyday People. So it deals with, it sounds like, treating people in our community as a gift opposed to a curse. Elaborate on that book just a second for me, Malcolm.
Okay, so when we started the podcast, I want to say March of 2018, and again, like you said, we talk on current events, pop culture topics, music sometimes, and then that would be the show. But what we noticed is a lot of people in our community are doing some amazing things. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't want to diminish their success by the just by how quote unquote big whatever it is, you know what I mean? So what I mean by that is, if somebody got accepted to college, we don't want to just say, well, everybody goes to college. No, that is important to them, so we're going to treat that as a win. You know what I'm saying? We're going to celebrate it as it should be, as an important event. So we decided to add this segment in the podcast called Urban Excellence, and then we just said, so we invited our audience to, send us stories. It could be about them. It could be about somebody they know. It could be, a story from around the news, and send us stories that you feel would exemplify what our, definition is. And we still didn't even really have a working definition. And then, we brainstormed about it. Said it's about embracing your community as a gift, not a curse. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people who are, from, our communities, they like to get down on themselves because of, just living situations and what they go through, what a lot of people go through. And instead of seeing those things as curses, we wanted to show you that it's a gift, because those experiences make you stronger, and whatever it is that you're doing, to excel your life in whatever way, it's a win. You know what I'm saying? If you're a 8-year-old kid and you just got an A in your math, you got an A in your report card for math, and you really work to get that A, that's a win. That's urban excellence. You know what I'm saying? If you're a 3-year-old and your 3-year-old daughter starting a lemonade stand, she's innovating, she's planting seeds of entrepreneurship and innovation. That's a win. That's urban excellence. You know what I'm saying? And we wanted to know about all of those stories, and we wanted to celebrate those stories. And a lot of times, like I said, we talk about these, celebrities and things like that. And I personally have a problem when the only image of quote unquote Black excellence is, flashy cars, these big parties that the normal person couldn't really afford to go to. And we said, like, there's more to excellence than just, throwing your money around and showing how much cash you have. It's about really, it's about being a success to you. You know what I'm saying? If you feel successful when you wake up, then that's a win. You know what I'm saying? And that could be anything. You know what I mean? If you're a single mom and you're making it to work and you're going to school and you're doing your thing, that's a win. That's urban excellence. and we wanted to highlight those stories, and that's what this book is about.
Definitely, definitely. And it's important that you say that because, and when I interview authors and different people who just got really cool jobs, right? I make it a point, and I want the younger generation to understand that, being a rapper in a in a athlete is not a bad thing. I mean, if that's your dream, that's your dream. But I got younger kids, bro, and I'm around a lot of younger kids, and unfortunately, nobody aspires to be like a doctor or a lawyer or author or a teacher even. I just interviewed
Right.
like a black teacher, a black guy that's a teacher, and he mentioned how, in his school is maybe one or two black teachers, but in our communities, these positions aren't considered like sexy, right? They don't get the
Right.
same type of acclaim as the guy pulling up in the big car with
Right.
with all the women. But just so we keep it in perspective, you can be a doctor or a lawyer or author and still have the big car and the women. It doesn't really mean, it's not really about being an entertainer or whatever. There are other ways. I guess that's my point. There are other ways to accumulate the type of life you want that don't involve, using our athletic prowess or our ability to entertain people. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. No, I agree, and that's what me and my father set to dispel. You know what I mean? Those myths that all you need to be is this big baller to be considered a success, or that to be considered black excellence. So yeah.
No, I completely understand that. And
Yeah.
so also, because when I hear you talk about creating everything that you go through as a gift, not a curse, to me, that's an extremely positive way to view life. Because, like you were mentioning, in our communities, we go through a lot. And as much as we've been through all the trauma individually and as a collective, I tell people all the time, we all need counseling, right? We all need to go sit in front of
Right.
somebody and talk as much shit as we've
Right.
had to endure in this country. So when you go through things, I think the only way to propel yourself through it is to have that kind of mentality. Like, this isn't a loss. I'm just learning. Even if it's something that seems minimal, you have to stack those small wins on top of each other, and then you create something bigger for yourself. Just like you were saying, man, a kid get an A on a test. These are things that should be celebrated because
Right.
because in their evolution, that's a part of what's going to make them them. So I think that's really, really important. I can't wait to read your book. Now, another question I have for you on the topic of the book and how we treat each other and everything. In your opinion, how important in our community, how important do you think it is that we value each other?
It's the foundation of what would, like, I feel it's the foundation of one of the ways we can actually move forward.
Hmm.
And when I say that, I mean, like, when so the way we see each other, and I don't want to generalize anything, but I'm just trying to speak frankly. The way we view each other, it can be so negative at times, and it really stifles us as a community. Like you were talking about, black businesses at the beginning of the show, and a lot of the things. What do people say when it comes to black business? Black people, we always late, or we never have anything. Everything. You know what I'm saying? When those negative stigmas when it comes to black business, and if we simply went into these companies and these stores with a better mindset at the gate, I think we could do a lot better just for relationship's sake. You know what I mean? Not even just business, but just relationship's sake. And I think that can kind of quell a lot of the violence. Like, why does somebody? Because I'm not gonna lie, I've been guilty of this as well. Like, if somebody looks at me 3 times too many, I'm just kind of like, my antennas are already up because that's just how I've been conditioned.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of it comes to, like you said, a lot of it comes to social conditioning. And we know how, white supremacy plays, a big part in all of that.
Hmm.
That's the real foundation of where a lot of this comes from. But
Hmm.
I think if we took the time to, uh, realize how, we look at each other out the gate and see how those can be toxic and how those can be, just harmful, not to the not to just you but to the other person as well, because you already have a stigma attached to them before they even open their mouths. I
Hmm.
think if we thought a lot about that, I think we'd be in a better place.
Definitely, definitely. I completely agree with that, man. When I look at, how, and again, I think, Malcolm, that's why history is so important. For me, that's probably the primary reason why I unpack things the way I do. When I see us do something that I don't like, I tend to look at the historical reference to why we act that way, even though once you become aware of how you got where you are, it's kind of up to you to make strides for improvement. But I think in a lot of
Right.
ways we just don't look at each other like we actual brothers. We don't look at each other like we're on the same team. I see a lot of people in our community, even people who how can I put it, have made themselves um mainstays in like the conscious community, people who've made it a point to speak out against what we don't, or speak out against white supremacy, speak out against racism, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, we have a lot of our people who do a lot of infighting, like when it comes to really small things, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So I
Mhm.
think
Mhm.
some type of code of conduct needs to be established that we kind of abide to across the board. And like I was saying about history, I think a lot of my brothers, if they, and it's just my opinion, if they did their due diligence on historical figures and different things that have happened in the past, you'll be really clear on this movie that we're living. It has happened before and
Right.
over again. None of these things are actually new. So I think, learning about history gives you a better perspective. Now, something else I wanted to ask based on what you said a little earlier, you mentioned about books and reading. Now, me personally, Malcolm, I'm a brother who actually had like a really, really bad stuttering problem. Like I couldn't get a word out edgewise. And for me, reading changed my life. Because I started reading books, it really helped me slow down my speech. It helped me a lot. Not only did it do that, but it just taught me so much that I never learned, right? That I never learned in school, never learned from my mom or whatever. Talk to me about, in your opinion, how important is like just reading in our community?
Yeah. So a lot for a while, I thought I was like really on an island with this, because even I would talk to some of my friends about books, and in college, in high school and college, and like a lot of my friends wouldn't read if it wasn't assigned. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? If those pages weren't assigned, they're not reading. So I think it's extremely important, because a lot of where we get our information from now is a lot of regurgitated. It's passed through so many different people, and there's so many, and a lot of different biases that go into a lot of the information people hear, especially on the internet now.
Mm-hmm.
On YouTube and things like that. And I think if a lot of people, did their own research, because sometimes a one book you read leads to another book,
Mm-hmm.
and then that leads to another book, and that leads to another book, and then you're able to come up with your own conclusions, and but it's backed by a lot of it's backed by research. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
that's just reading on a research level, but for uh an entertainment and personal development level, I think it's important as well, because reading slows you down. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You have to sit there and actually uh, still yourself and actually concentrate and comprehend what you're reading. And you know what I'm saying? I think because I'm not a real big fan of audiobooks. I get it. A lot of people are busy,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel I have a thing where I like to just find time. I carve out a couple hours in my day and actually go through pages and read, because I think it works a different part of your brain as well. When
Definitely.
you have to just picture what's going on in the book, picture how you think the author is saying this, picture the think about the pictures that the author is painting while you're reading. You know what I'm saying? So I think reading is extremely important.
Definitely, definitely. Now, also something else you said earlier, which caught me off guard a little bit. You said you went to college and you majored in history.
Yes, I did.
So talk to me about that. Was it just like Black history, or was it everybody's history?
Oh, so I mentioned it was world history. It was everybody's history.
Okay.
And yeah, I've always been, growing up in school, I've always been pretty strong in either English language arts and social studies. So it was gonna be one of those two. And one of my professors it was a 16th century history professor, and he kind of just really brought it alive for me. Like this during my freshman year, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And we had a lot of research papers, and I remember doing a research paper one day with one of my classmates, one of my friends, and we both going over like our papers. And she was like, "All right, read me your paper." So I read her like the first two paragraphs, and she was just like, "You're not afraid you're gonna get in trouble?" I'm like, "What?" She was like, "You didn't plagiarize that?" I was like, "No." What? And then she was like, "Well, yeah, that sounds like it's from the textbook." So then that's when I kind of realized that, okay, I have something going with my writing as well. Like I think I can really do something here. So that's kind of what brought it about. But yeah, I majored in history, and as you know, it's a cool conversation starter because a lot of people don't expect that. They just automatically assume, oh, you want to be a teacher? Nah, I wanted to be a museum curator. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Definitely. Now, so we spoke a little bit about the podcast with your dad, but break it down to me. Tell everybody about like the Urban X podcast. What do you guys do specifically?
So the Urban X podcast it's actually a live podcast. Me and my father do Thursday nights at 9:30, and we go live on YouTube, and the audio comes out on all streaming platforms the next day. But it's me and my pops, and we collect a lot of stories during the week. If it's pop culture, if it's just an interesting debate me and him need to have, if it's an article I might have stumbled across, and we literally just we don't give. I would say we give our opinions, but we try to implant our unique perspectives as best we can. You know what I'm saying? We try to find the little crevices where somebody might not have thought about, and we try to make it make sense for our audience. In my bio, like on the back of my book, the last thing it says is the way I describe myself is like, I'm woke, but I take naps. You know what I'm saying? And so that means I'm completely aware of a lot of what goes on, but sometimes you have to implant a different perspective that some people may not think about, or they just kind of don't want to think about because they're locked into their beliefs already. You know what I'm saying? So, what our job is, we feel like, is to give, and since our podcast is kind of late in the week, it's on a Thursday, a lot of people, some of these topics happen, a lot of people have already went Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, giving their opinions, giving every angle they thought that there was to give on a certain topic, and then we come in on the back end and give just that extra, extra twist on what you thought you knew about this topic already. So that's what we do. We try to promote, like you do as well. We try to promote local business. We do, like I mentioned before, our Urban Excellence segment. People send us stories all the time. Like this woman, one of the first Urban Excellence stories we got was a woman. She sent us a story about her little brother. They were taking him to his freshman year of college. They were taking him to his dorm to set up to his dorm. Like nobody in their family had went to college before, and this is a big deal. So we said, yeah, bet this is a big deal. You know what I mean? Another story we had. This little girl started a slime business at her school. That's a big deal. She's becoming a little entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? We have other stories from people. A kid got accepted to college. He's 15. He's already getting scholarship letters. One of my friends from college bought a laundromat, and an ad with laundromat. So we now what we played his commercial. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Promoting his. Yeah, it's like somebody. One of my friends did a charity for mental health because she had gone through some mental health issues, but she gave like event surrounding all kind of mental health issues, and we did an urban excellence story in that. So stories vary, and within the podcast, and then so me and my pops are of the same mindset, but he is old school, and I try to bring my young perspective.
Hmm.
He's uh, our polarizing views on. Sometimes we end up meeting in the middle. Maybe we'll like just completely disagree. I think it's important. I think it shows important because it shows the generational. Uh, I don't want to say differences, but it shows how seen differently by 26 and he's 52.
Definitely,
You know what I
definitely,
mean?
definitely, definitely. And I think, because I try to stay in tune with all of the, let me see, how can I say it? All of the black media, all of the black men and women online who I think are speaking truth to power, who I think are, who basically is a good example of us. You know what I'm saying? Because there are people that I don't agree with sometimes, like their rhetoric or their message to a degree. But I think ultimately, if I hear somebody that I can tell has black people's best interests at heart, then I'm a rock with it. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you guys creating a platform because how I see it, I see two intelligent brothers disseminating information. And at the end of the day, I think that's what we need more of. You see what I'm saying? I think a lot of
Right.
us need to get to a space because I watch CNN and I watch, some of the more popular news channels, but for the most part, I like listening to my people talk. I like listening to my people give information and you're a younger brother, so I'm 39, man. Being that you're as young as you are, I gotta take my hat off to you as well because you're doing things in our community and you're showing brothers your age, like I said, that you can be cool without being an entertainer or without being a rapper. You can saying that you wanted to be a museum curator. That's like that shit blew my mind, bro. Because that's deep. That's a really brilliant way to try to control our narrative. Because at the end of the day, we have a lot of people that aren't us telling our story. It has been that way since the beginning of time. That's one thing out. You know, sometimes it gets a little convoluted with YouTube and everybody talking at the same time to a degree. But that's what I like about YouTube. That's what I like about the internet because it's given us an ability to speak to each other directly. It's given us ability for people who are aware of history and know how things came to be. It has given these brothers a platform to talk to all of us. So for that,
Right.
I take my hat off to you and everything that your pops is doing, man. I want to, thank you for taking time out of your day to promote your book and just, have a conversation with me about the different things that you're doing. So tell everybody, when will your book be in stores?
So my book will be out everywhere January 21st, 2020. It is available for pre-order now. Also, we're running as an incentive for people to pre-order because I'm not sure you know this, but me and my father, we sell clothing and we make all our clothing at home. You know what I'm saying?
You're
Print
breaking up a
them,
little
we
bit, Malcolm.
embroider. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I was saying I'm not sure you know, but my father and I we also sell merchandise as well, and we create all our merchandise in house. My stepmother creates the designs. We either print them on the shirts or we embroider. We got hoodies, hats. So what we're doing as an incentive to pre-order. If you pre-order the book, you can screenshot your receipt to urbanx.nyc@gmail.com, and we'll send you a free shirt. We'll send
Definitely.
you a code, and we'll send you a free shirt. And a lot of people have been sending in a lot of people have been sending me pictures in their shirts, and it's been dope. So yeah, after January 21st, it'll be available on Barnes and Noble, all those other places that sell books. It'll be available everywhere.
Definitely, definitely. Now, tell everybody where they connect with you. Like, what's your social media handle?
So my social media, my Twitter and my Instagram is top_XTH. So that's TOP_XTH. And on Facebook, it's Malcolm X Browser. You can follow me. Where else am I at? On LinkedIn at Malcolm X Browser if you want to connect that way. But yeah, those are the two main ones I use. This blog is Urban X NYC and Twitter as well. And if you want to visit the blog and see some articles we've written, some videos, if you want to, the podcast episode, you can also.
I'm sorry, Malcolm. Say that last part one more time. Your phone was breaking up.
I was saying that the blog is urbanx.nyc. If you want to read some articles, if you want to watch some our YouTube videos, our past YouTube videos, and if you want to catch up on our podcast.
Definitely, definitely. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. I'm really interested in reading your book. I'm definitely going to stay tuned in to everything you and your pops is doing. And I just want everybody out there listening to this show, man, please do your due diligence. Look up the Urban X podcast. Tap in with my brother Malcolm when he drops his book. People in our community need to understand, as a whole, we all need to understand how important it is to support each other, how important it is to recognize when somebody is doing the right thing, recognize when somebody is on the same page as you. It doesn't take you a lot just to salute somebody. Tell them that you appreciate them. We spend our money, we all are aware that we spend our money in a lot of different places. We spend our money with a lot of people that isn't in our community. So if you're a young person in college, this book will be good for you. If you're an older person working a 9 to 5, this book will be good for you. If you're a younger person just getting into reading, this book will be good for you. I think at walking through life, all of us need motivation at times. All of us need to grasp onto things that we feel we can relate to and propel us to the next level. And I think his book is a prime example of information of regular people doing extraordinary things, just like he said. So everybody, please, January 21st, pick up my brother's book. This has been another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast, where we try our best to have interesting conversations with our people. You can check out the show at melanatedfathers.com. You can check out the show on our YouTube page, which is Melanated Fathers TV on YouTube. My Instagram is melanatedfathers100. On Twitter, it's melanin100. So again, I want to thank the brother Malcolm for coming to the show, man, and taking time out of his day to talk to everybody. Please, please go out and support the brother. Share this show, share the conversation with everybody that you know, so we can continue to build our numbers up. I just think it's really important to have intriguing conversations with people that matter. In the social media age, where it's so much going on, it's so much rhetoric, it's so much information, we need to try our best as much as we can to speak truth to power every time out, family. So this has been another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. This is your boy Harrison. I'm out.